it's funny about everything that I do. Um, I um, spend most of my time in Indigenous communities all over Ontario in the States, and then even and beyond, teaching about all the different types of medicine and stuff like that. And it's just unusual. It's different because, and I mean, like, this might sound unusual if for the first time saying it, but I don't really get to speak to too many people who are like this specific sort of audience, people who are totally obsessed with plants and flowers and all these amazing things. Um, I'm mostly speaking to an audience who like is completely understanding of the significance of the like medicinal significance of the plant, or like for food, or like even utility purposes of the plant. And like I don't know, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Just like whenever I get to speak to people who just love plants, it's always super fun and super interesting. So yeah, I guess I'll just get going. I'm already 40 minutes late, I guess, but I'll keep you guys here as long as I can. Um, so yeah, it's interesting how I don't really get to speak to these sorts of audiences too often. um, so oh, this should be great. One of my favorites. So I kind of wanted to just spend tonight and share with you um, some pretty just a couple real simple ideas. One of the things that I wanted to tell everybody is, like, as we go on, I have a few things that I could show you. I could run through like a few pictures and like a little bit of a presentation type thing. So we'll be able to do that. But and then I have something like real super awesome that I really want to show everybody, just to blow your socks off. It's gonna be super cool. Um, just the oh yeah, that'll be super fun. So I'll save that for more towards the end. Um, um, but tonight, um, yeah, I just wanted to spend some time with you guys, share with you a little bit about medicinal significance of whole bunch of different types of plants. It's gonna be super fun. We'll just like rapid fire a whole bunch of stuff. Um, so I guess I should tell you, maybe I should tell you a little bit about myself. um, Real fast. Um, I'm from Wikiwemikong on Manitoulin Island, and my my grandma is Tekla Pheasant. Her mom was Bridget, and yeah, so it's really cool. Their role in our community was they were midwives, traditional, I guess, midwives. I mean, no one said traditional back then. It was kind of just like, yeah, they were the midwives, and they got all kinds of real awesome stories. So one of my favorite stories that my grandma shares is from when she was like 5 or 6, like just a little girl, and her mom woke her up in the morning. It was still dark. It was like 4 in the morning, like super early. Just started shaking her in the bed, and my grandma always says her mom was real dramatic. Like she had no chill. She just was real freaky all the time, and then like shaking her in the bed, and then my mama just rolling around. Oh man! And then she woke up, and then her mom said, "Get everything you need for 2 months. We need to leave." And my grandma kind of took a second, and she was like, "Ever dramatic? Like, I have everything I need for 2 months. Like, I only have one pair of clothes. I don't have anything. So let's go then. And then her mom was like, okay, let's go. And then they took off. And like, for whatever reason, in the story, I remember that it was raining. So they took off. They went to another house, and there was like a midwife emergency. And they got into the house, and then her mom, Bridget, she could see her mom starting to tear up her jacket. She was wearing like this flannel jacket. She started ripping it, and then like my mama was already like, "Oh, mom, how come I gotta be real dramatic like that?" And then her mom walked in the house, and she was like, "Where's your matchbox?" And like those red bird matchboxes. They gave one of those to her, and then she whipped off the sleeve, and then just spilled all the matches on the floor. Then my mama was like, "Oh man, like chill, you're going crazy. These people will think you're crazy." And then her mom put that piece of the flannel shirt that she's ripped off, put it inside of that matchbox, and that's where they put the baby. It was a premature baby that was born. And the reason why they needed 2 months of everything that she needed was because they had to basically incubate this baby for 2 months. So they put the baby in the matchbox, put some oil on it, and sat in front of a potbelly wood stove for 2 months, constantly rubbing oil. For the first few days, they gave the baby colostrum, but eventually the demand wasn't enough. And for whatever reason, there was no wet nurse available for them. So what they had to do is my grandma, like, she was just like, yeah, my mom just told those men, she just said, go get me tikmek, go get me whitefish. And they came back a couple days later with a bunch of whitefish, and her mom boiled them down and made some fish broth. That's what they ended up feeding the baby. And so my grandma's task when she was like 6 years old was incubating a baby that fit in a matchbox for 2 months, feeding it fish broth. And I was like, I can't get my daughter to do worksheets in a little book, and in like at the promise of whatever meal she could ever desire. And then that was my grandma's, her job when she was little. So I was like, holy man, this is crazy. My grandma had like real awesome life. And so my grandma's favorite cadence to that story was to be able to explain that that woman grew up, that girl grew up, she became a woman, and she was huge. Like, she's like 6 foot tall, massive woman. Everybody jokes they call her gotchis in wiki, which means a little girl. That's like, if you're reminiscing of your childhood, oh, that's what you think of when you were a little gotchis, a little kid running when the grass was taller than you. And then so that's what everybody calls her, gotchis, because she was a real tiny little thing. But yeah, she grew real huge. So now she's like an 80-year-old woman, and like every room she walks in, she's so big, and she's just like, oh, like everybody is kind of like, whoa, look at that. And she has this presence. And so my grandma always goes up to her and like nudges her. My grandma, real short, real poofy white hair, and she's like, I remember when you were this big. And I held you for 2 months, and like just crazy stories. So it's just stuff like that, like, gets me so hooked on everything that my all of the just the life that my mama lived was, they didn't have a hospital. So when you were a midwife, you went to see the midwives. That's who dealt with it. And so maybe we could start from there. One of the things that my mama would always share with us is that regarding midwifery, you guys are like this. Regarding midwifery, you had one goal. Your main job, like you were there for the delivery, and if there was complications after the delivery, like some post care, but midwifery now is like really heavy on the being present at the birth, preparing, and a little bit of preparation before the birth, being present at the birth, and then just easing off of that post care. The way that my grandma remembers it was like it was all dedicated to that preparation process. You'd prepare and prepare and prepare for months, months and months and months. Then you would get pregnant, and then they might show up during the delivery. They might be there to help. They might help a little bit with post care if you have issues with breastfeeding or whatever, but it was fairly intuitive, I guess. And they were not very much a part of the process. It was just sort of like this familial knowledge, took it from there kind of thing. So really heavy on the preparation process. And so digging into that a little bit more, just visiting with my grandma, she says that, yeah, you know what? We dedicated so much time to making medicine. Her and her mom would be out traipsing around through the forest. That was like their life for so long, was just walking through the forest and picking medicine, and preparing medicine for women who seek to have a family one day. Um, so when people would go to her to be under her care, they would go to see her um, before they would get pregnant, and they would take this different types of medicine for months and months, and then she would say, "Okay, go ahead," and then they would get pregnant. Um, and then and so it was to ensure that everything throughout the pregnancy goes according to plan. So the way that my grandma describes it is like the whole art of Anishinaabe midwifery is designed to mitigate or prevent the worst thing that can ever happen to a woman or a family, a miscarriage or a stillborn. Do everything you can to prevent that from happening before you even try to get pregnant. And then while you're pregnant, I remember my mama, she like grabbed me by the collar when my wife was pregnant, and we told her that she was pregnant, and we were real happy. And then she like stood up and grabbed me by the collar, and she was just, don't let her lift anything heavier than a textbook, and then let me go. And then she took off. And then I remember I was looking at my wife. We are like, whoa, okay. You can't do anything then. It's all on me. I'm good. I'll do everything. And we did. It was really cool to try to adhere to that protocol. But yeah, it was really amazing how heavy it was in the preparation and how you would engage in medicine. So I guess I could share with you guys real quick some of those medicines. So let me see if I could find one. I accidentally deleted a bunch of stuff. This might be a little bit not according to plan, but it should be okay. So my grandma says, okay, so you have to understand there's a medicine that you would make. Um, and this medicine you could make at any time of the year. You can make it in the spring, summer, fall, winter, any time. You always have access to this type of medicine. Um, let me see if I could just grab everything for you guys. So I'll put in here, so you have all of the different types of medicine I'll talk about here. So she says, yeah. So this medicine, you need to be able to make it all year. You can't really prepare too much. There's some really good kwemskake that we use roots from, but she says the main thing we have to understand is you have to know how to use your trees first. Trees should be the first thing that you learn about, because they're always there. You always have access to them. You can't dig roots out in the middle of winter. So if you only know roots for medicine, sometimes they might be better. Like therapeutically, they might be more powerful, which is great. But if you don't pick enough, what are you going to do? Die? So you have to know your trees. so that you always can get any medicine that you need at any time of the year. It's a super important thing. And so for us and all of the work that we do, like when we're in community, or when we're with like everybody from kids to community members, we're always working to understand everything about trees, winter identification of trees, because we say things like you should be able to provide support to or therapy to every organ, system, and process that your body has and goes through with just the trees. If there is a problem, there's always going to be a tree that will be able to fix it. So you need to learn about the trees first, then you can learn about plants. And it's also important, like from a locative sense too, like you need to understand trees if you want to even be able to find the different types of medicine that grow underneath them. Like trees, the canopy controls the species growing underneath them. And so it's actually one of my favorite things now. It's actually dangerous. I don't like it. I'm trying to like train myself not to. If I'm driving and we see a certain combination of trees, then it's like, whoa, hey, okay, let's stop, pull over. I'm gonna be on the side of the 400. Stop, pull over. I'll go in there and check, see if there's any galgabgons or what's it, Princess Pine, Chemophilia ambulata. Oh, look at that perfect little combination there. Pull over, go get it. And then we end up being one of those real erratic drivers. People think we have flats. They're like, oh, are you okay? You pulled off real fast. Oh no, there's plants over there. We're okay. Sorry. And then, but anyways, yeah. So trees are super important, and so I'll just share with you guys real quick. It's actually super cool. This women's medicine is something that we're super passionate about. We try to teach as many as we can about this, because it's like it's such an outrageously amazing medicine that I think uh uh we yeah, like everybody should know. Everybody should be engaging with this. Like the one time we were moose hunting with my dad and another a community member. His name was Joe Churro, and we were moose hunting, and we were cruising through the. Well, me and my dad went out in the morning. Joe Trudeau went somewhere else, and we were trying to get moose. And then we came back for lunchtime. And then so we were there making sandwiches, and then Joe Trudeau came out of the bush, and then he was real dirty looking. Like his elbows were dirty, his knees, and then his pockets were all, everything was dirty. And I was thinking, holy man, I must have been like, I was a little kid, but I was like, this guy must be really hunting, like on his hands and knees, crawling around right into the, like I should look like I was ashamed because I was real clean. And then yeah, he came to make a sandwich, but then he pulled out all this stuff, put it on the tailgate, and then it looked like a bunch of sticks and dirt, and he told me they were roots. He's like, oh, these are all, this is kwemshkeke, women's medicine. And I was like, oh, women's medicine. And he's like, yeah, you need to learn how to take care of your women in your life. He said, you're nothing without a woman. You need to learn how to take care of them. Then you'll be okay. Then I was thinking of all my aunties, my grandma, my mom, my sister. I was thinking of everybody, and I was like, yeah, I would be nothing without all them. Holy moly. I better understand. But I didn't understand nothing. It just looked like a bunch of sticks. And so, but I remembered when my grandma started telling me, and she was like explaining to me this type of medicine that they use to prepare for pregnancy. She actually said that you do not use this medicine to prepare for pregnancy. Well, I mean, you use it to prepare for pregnancy, but it's for everything. This is a kwemshkeke, a women's medicine. You use it through every one of those transitionary periods. So pregnancy is one transitionary period. Breastfeeding is another transitionary period. Then you have menopause, but then you have puberty. And like women go through all of these changes. That's why the word that we use for women is ikwe, is a woman. And That's what it means, is a change, a permanent change that has taken place. Kwe. So like you hear that anytime you hear that sound kwe in Anishinaabe word, that there's a permanent change that takes place. Like kwene is smoke. So like when you burn something, it goes from being like the full organic matter, and it turns into smoke. Kwene is how we describe that action. There's a permanent change, irreversible change that takes place. Or like when you bake bread, like when you bake bread, there's a permanent irreversible change that takes place when you make bread. So you can't like unbake bread. So there's a change there that takes place. So women are like the epitome of change, because like you have puberty, then there's childbearing, child rearing, menopause, sometimes even pre-menopause, menopause, and post-menopause. And then it's like, how many changes do the ladies have to go through? It's insane. And so we just call them, the epitome of change. And we make this medicine to support all of those processes. So it's like super important for preparing for pregnancy, but then there's like there's helping with puberty and menstruation. So like, let me go through this. I wonder if I could show you. We have nope, not in that one. Oh, that's just a whole bunch of tamaracks. I wonder if I even have it. Anyways, I'll show you this one. Anyways, ash is one of the most important. Boyok, we call it, or Wisagok is black ash. Boyok is white ash, Fraxinus americanus. And this is the main women's medicine. This is the one that like really helps. I mean, we have the tamarack. Let me go back here. We have the tamarack. Actually, let me just start here, since I already have images of it. The tamarack, one of the things that it helps with is it's a blood builder. It helps your body create new healthy blood. Actually helps you absorb the iron. Iron is something that it's not necessarily an issue of you getting enough iron. Most of us are getting enough iron. Like almost everybody's getting enough iron. It's just like we don't have the tools that you need to be able to absorb the iron. That's what anemia is. We'll just keep accumulating iron throughout your entire life. So like when you're as you get older and you go and get your blood test, they check your ferritin, and it's like through the roof when you're old. But when you're young, it might be a little bit lower, and you're still building those stores. The issue with anemia is that you don't have what you need to be able to absorb all of that iron. And then there's multiple other components at play to be able to create new healthy blood. One of the things is you have this, you have these little factories throughout your body. They're called autophagosomes. They're what eat the old dead red blood cells and convert them into sugar, I guess, for energy. And so those little autophagosomes use an alphanumeric system to identify them, CD36. So you have these little autophagosomes that eat all of your old dead red blood cells and convert them into energy. When you're women make a lot more blood than men for obvious reasons. And one of the things that happens is with women, when you're not eating the right foods, you're not drinking enough water, you're not sleeping well, you're super stressed out, and everything sucks all the time. Everything is just crazy. And then you get home and you watch Young and the Restless, and then it's like even more stressful. And everything is just crazy. What happens when everything is crazy all the time? Things don't work properly in your body, and so your one of the things that goes awry is those little autophagosomes don't really break down the old dead red blood cells. the blood cells that are no longer doing their job, but they're not dead yet. Sort of this senescence starts to occur, and so these autophagosomes, these little factories, are supposed to eat all of them, and as the blood is being sort of consumed, then your body will recreate new healthy blood. And so if these factories are down because of all of these stressful things that are happening, um, you find one knot that you didn't do appropriately in the beginning when you're crocheting, then you have to tear apart the entire thing just to fix that one knot that you found. That's stressful. So then nothing works properly inside of your body. So then your those little autophagosomes don't work properly. And what ends up happening is you have a whole bunch of old dead red blood cells that continue to circulate through your body that are not doing their job properly, but they're not dead yet. And so there are these zombies floating everywhere. And blood is something that brings oxygen and nutrients to everything. And so if you're in this hypoxic state, you don't have enough oxygen, you don't have enough nutrients, you're very low on energy. And so with a lot of women, one of the biggest issues is like with menstruating women is like you have no energy for nothing, like all month. You might have one good week, but then women laugh at me and I'm like, yeah, you used to one good week of energy. And then they're like, try one day. I got one good day a month. That's it. Everything else is just through the floor. And so tamarack, one of the things that it helps with is it create those autophagosomes. You'll create more, and then but they're in full force. They're eating all the dead zombie cells, and so triggering your body to forcing your body to into the state where it has to create more, and then also providing all the nutrients that your body needs to create a whole bunch more healthy red blood cells. Then you have all the oxygen, all the nutrients going everywhere where it has to go, a lot more efficiently. So then every time, maybe not every time, but like when we share tamarack with women, it's kind of freaky. Like it's eerie how many of them will sort of say the same thing. Like, oh yeah, I started taking that tamarack medicine and like I feel like I have a new life. It feels like I have a new life because there's so much energy all month long. There's no dips and dives. There's no plummeting of and like having to function on E all month. My energy levels are constant and high, and so they'll be real happy like explaining this to me. But then their husband is behind them, like, and then the thankfulness you could see just exuding out of every pore in his body. He's real happy too. So then everybody's like real happy. And so it's like, yeah, we need to learn how to take care of our women. So this one of the ingredients in there that help with this energy aspect and building, helping to create new blood, actually utilizing ferritin, actually utilizing the energy or the iron that's stored inside of your body. So it's super important for that. And what I wanted to share is like women will relate to this tree too. And they'll say, yeah, you know what? All the deciduous trees, of all the deciduous trees, this was the only one that sheds its needles. And just like women, they'll relate to this tree and say, "Oh, I shed endometrial lining every month, and so this tree is my friend, and it helps me with that." And so it's real interesting some of the feedback that people will bring to me. This is an idea I really want to play around with you guys tonight. So if we look at you know what? We won't even look at ash yet. Wait, let's go over here. I know I got it in here somewhere. I need monotagons. Oh, right here. Yeah. So I need monotagons, Hybris Cranberry. Uh super common plant. Um this is a part of that women's medicine too. Viburnum trilobum. And then everybody's using opulus because in the south, that's all that's here is opulus. In the north, you'll still get trilobum. Um, but oh man, I found like I gotta go Even on Manitoulin, I'll still get a whole bunch of opulus or hybrids anyways. So anyways, the Viburnum Hybris Cranberry, anyway, oh yeah, I didn't even tell you guys. So this medicine here is all bark. So you scrape all the bark off and you make tea, and then you drink the tea. And that's the tea that helps support multiple different aspects in and part of women. So the Hybris Cranberry, super cool. What it does, I mean, some of you guys might know, like Hybris Cranberry, one of its other common names, maybe even more common than Hybris Cranberry, is cramp bark. And people just straight up call it cramp bark, and it's amazing what it does. You know how like in your body everything is opposites, two opposite forces like fighting against each other, so your body can work, like your biceps and your triceps, they work against each other so your arms can move, and your quads and your hammies for your legs so your legs can move, and then like all your muscles, all your hormones, everything, your body is just opposite forces working against each other. One of the things that we're not taught a lot about that's super common and that I think everybody should understand is the relationship between sodium and magnesium, or sodium and calcium. Sodium and calcium are like super excitable minerals. They everything that they touch, they constrict or they excite. And magnesium, everything that magnesium touches, it relaxes, it dilates. And so some of you guys might know, like when you have high blood pressure, your doctor will say, don't have sodium anymore, like lower your sodium because you have too much and it's constricting everything. When in reality, the problem is you have a bunch of sodium, but you don't have enough magnesium. The magnesium is supposed to work with the sodium. Sodium constricts everything, and magnesium relaxes everything. So high blood pressure, hypertension, a lot of the times, not all the time, is a deficiency in magnesium. Like 50% of Canada is deficient in magnesium. So we have too much sodium constricting and exciting everything, not enough magnesium relaxing everything. The reason why we don't have enough magnesium relaxing everything is really cool, because when we get stressed out, like if we meet a bear or if we see the police speed trap, you know that feeling you see a speed trap? Oh man, I hate that. I can't calm down. So when you see police, when you see a bear, when there's a dog is running at you barking, or you're allergic to food and then you see that food on the ingredients list, oh no, what have I done? Or you got grandkids, oh man, this must be the worst. You have grandkids, and then do not feed them gluten, do not feed them dairy, they can't handle those. And then, oh yeah, give them cookies or whatever, and then you read the ingredients. Oh no, what have I done? And you get this stress response. So that stress response, adrenaline and cortisol, um, basically one of their major functions is to tell your liver to give you all the sugar. Your liver is like this big sopping sponge full of sugar, glycogen, and when you get stressed, adrenaline and cortisol tell your liver to give you everything you need to be able to fight the police or run from the police, or the bear, fight the bear, run from the bear. I don't know what happens to you more, but you have this stress response, right? Well, one of I mean, that's not all adrenaline and cortisol do. That's not all stress does. One of the things that it does too is it tells your kidneys to dump all of the magnesium, grab all of the magnesium. It works with the calcium sensory receptor inside of your kidneys, in the large loop of Henle, to be able to grab all of the magnesium from your blood and just dump it. Because you can't have magnesium just calming everything down, relaxing everything, dilating everything, when you have to run from a bear. Like you have to run from a bear. So get rid of all of that magnesium. So whenever you're stressed, kidneys just dump everything out of you. And so you're left with not enough magnesium. Sodium is just constricting everything. So Hybris Cranberry is really amazing because the reason why it's called cramp bark is because it changes your kidneys to say, you know what, no matter how much adrenaline and cortisol there is, no matter how much stress you're exposed to, this calcium sensing receptor is never going to um, absorb a whole bunch of magnesium. You're going to keep all of that magnesium in your blood. So it tricks that calcium sensory receptor into keeping all of the magnesium, so it's not getting dumped out through your pee, through your urine. It's all just it gets to stay inside of your blood, and it gets to relax everything. So when you get a muscle, when there's too much calcium and too much sodium, and that muscle cramps and it spasms, or you have tetany, like like most of us probably understand, because like if you ever see on cartoons, you ever get somebody real mad on a cartoon, they'll be like, oh, they'll be red, steam coming out of their ears, and then you'll see afterwards their eye will be twitching. Well, why does their eye twitch like that? It's because that stress dumped all the magnesium, and everything is starting to twitch. Everything is too excited because you're stressed out. So most of us can understand this. So Hybris Cranberry changes that. Holds all of the magnesium inside of your body, and calms down any cramps that you would have been having. So it's a way for you to be able to communicate to your body to say, hey, you know what? We're going to be super stressed out, but hang on to all that magnesium, because you're gonna need it. And so in the case of a woman who is going through menstruation, maybe painful menstruation, where there's lots of cramping, the magnesium is going to be there to help calm everything down. But what's really amazing is that with the uterus, with menstruation, you have the endometrial lining. The uterus has to, the uterus is a muscle. It's a really complex muscle. It's like an onion in all different directions. It's really freaky, like looking at it. Anyways, it's supposed to be super strong, and it's supposed to just just muscle off that endometrial lining every month, just and then it's gone. But the problem is that because we're not eating the right foods, we're not drinking enough water, we're not sleeping enough, we're so stressed out, everything sucks all the time, and we watch Young and the Restless, and this makes us even more stressed out. So then that muscle becomes weak. When the uterus becomes weak, it's not able to muscle that lining off every month. But that endometrial lining has to come off. So what it does, it has a backup plan, and that backup plan is spasming, and it spasms to rip the lining off. And so really quickly, what happens when the uterus, sometimes when it's spasming to tear the endometrial lining off, sometimes what ends up happening in the muscular tissue itself is there will be an actual tear. And when it actually tears, that's where the fibroids will begin. And fibroids are the leading cause of miscarriage and stillborn. And so that really needs to be taken care of. That really needs to be managed. So anyways, Hybris Cranberry helps a little bit to tone the muscle of the uterus, to basically give it little Braxton Hicks, give it little workouts throughout the month so that it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And it only does that a little bit. So one of the ones that we add to this mixture, Wikiwemikong Red Oyster Dogwood, we add this to the mixture because this is really gonna amp up that action, and the uterus is gonna be lifting weights all month long, and it's gonna get super strong. And it's going to actually be helping to fix the root problem. And so that combination of Hybris Cranberry and Red Oyster Dogwood, Wikiwemikong, is necessary to help stop the cramping, but help fix what's causing the cramping and make that uterus nice and strong. And so I wanted to show you, well, I guess maybe what I could do, I'll go back here. This is super fun. So what happens when the uterus tears? And I'm explaining all this for a reason. It helps me with like everything else later. I just, for whatever reason, chose women's medicine tonight. But anyways, when the uterus tears, there's a hole. Um, and that hole needs to be filled. So what your body does is send a bunch of growth hormone to be able to regrow a bunch of tissue where the hole is. And like I always say, this horrible analogy of Sudbury, if you've ever driven in Sudbury, there's a bunch of holes in the road, but they don't fill the holes. Your body will send a bunch of growth hormones there to fill that hole. But for whatever reason, like whatever it is, you're not eating the right foods, you're not drinking enough water, you're not sleeping well, you're too stressed out, and everything sucks all the time. What happens is those growth hormones that are responsible for filling that hole don't leave, and they grow past, and they end up creating a growth inside of the uterus that we will call fibroids, and in the ovaries it's called a cyst, and in mucous membranes it's called a polyp. But this extra growth tissue, all this extra tissue, it shouldn't be there. And ash, boyak, wisagak, ash, white ash, black ash, it comes in there. It's a part of this mixture. It comes in, and ash is like, hey, I'm a women's medicine. I'm a kwemshkike. I help mediate or regulate all of these issues that can happen, that can occur, that can build up inside of a woman. One of the things that I do is mediate growth factors in the female reproductive system. So what that means is ash will come in and it'll say, hey, you're only supposed to have growth hormone, all the different types of growth hormone, insulin-like growth hormone, vasoendothelial growth factor is probably the most effective one. You're only supposed to have these growth hormones in the uterus, yet you have this giant thing. You're providing all these blood vessels, all these endothelial growth factors are present in this massive, that shouldn't be there. So then when those growth factors are mediated, vasoendothelial growth factor is cut off, and all of the growth and repair of all of the blood vessels inside of that fibroid are cut off. And so it basically chokes. It's like if you wrap an elastic band around your pinky, eventually it turns black and falls off. So what happens with the fibroids is they will just turn black and fall off. And then you end up passing this massive fibroid, and fibroids or excessive tissue inside of women is the leading cause of miscarriage or a stillborn outside of an accident, because that's taking up real estate, like space inside of the uterus where the baby is supposed to grow, and it's also stealing all of the nutrients, all of the growth hormones that's supposed to be going towards the baby are all in the fibroid. So we got to get rid of that before you get pregnant. And then everything should be able to go according to plan. And ash is super amazing because if you look at it, you could see that ash is a women's medicine, and not a man's medicine. It's a women's medicine. And so, like, you go to school, you learn plant identification, tree identification. The best way to identify a tree is to identify what makes it special, what's its significant feature, what makes it different than all of the other trees. Then you can ensure that you're positively identifying the tree. That's why the whole scientific taxonomy of plants exists. And so when you look at ash, one of the things that we use to look at the bark is like that lattice sort of pattern, all those X's. And then I remember I was out with my one of our buddies and her boyfriend, and then we were at ash. So I said, "What makes ash special? Look at that bark. What makes it unique?" And so she says, "All I learned at Fleming, that pattern, that lattice pattern, or like X's on the bark, That's how you know you're looking at ash. And then her boyfriend right away was like, oh, like X chromosome. And then she just patted his back. Yes, like X chromosome. and then and then and then if you go to ash, I mean, you guys probably already noticed. Let me just shrink that down. But if you go to ash and you look at um, the buds will be like moose hooves. And so one of the things that one of the things that we will show, or that one of the things that I really wanted to teach tonight, is that every single plant is showing you what it's good for. Every single plant is screaming at you how it should be used, the part of your body that it's designed to provide therapy for, designed to help fix, repair, make strong. So, I mean, ash is like probably one of the most graphic examples that I could have started off with. But ash is showing you like this is women's medicine, not a man's medicine, a women's medicine. And so every part of this tree and its whole life cycle is all showing us that this is what it's meant to help with. This is what it's providing therapy to. So I'll go back here as fast as I can. Oh, holy. Hybris cranberry. One of the things that we should see when we look at Hybris cranberry, if so, let me just say too, real quickly, that one of my favorite things is to look at different creation stories in all over the world. Like I really love theology. For whatever reason, I find myself looking into all these different things all the time. Anyways, in the Shnava creation story, there's a moment where everything has already been created. Human is the last thing that was made, but it was like dead still. And it took the creator to breathe life or breathe spirit into that being to create us who we are now. So there's a shell that we're sitting inside in our story. In our story, we're lying inside of a shell, lifeless. Our whole body, our whole physical form is there. And that shell is a representation of all of the elements that make up Earth. Everything that has already been created up until that point is represented in and as a part of that shell. That's why, like, if we smudge or whatever, you're only supposed to make a fire on the land, and the shell is a representation that's able to so that we could bring the representation of all of the land inside of our home, and then so we make our little fire inside of there to clean our home. So that's why we use a shell, right? But the shell, yeah, it's a representation of all of the elements that make up Earth. And we were sitting inside of there because we humans are a culmination of all of the elements that make up Earth. And in order for us to be who we are now, the creator breathed his spirit into us, and then shebang. So that was his contribution. But our bodies, our physical selves, are a representation of all of the elements that make up Earth. And it's real funny too, like looking at all the other creation stories, like a non-Trinitarian interpretation of the Genesis story, and when it says when he says, "Let us make man in our image," according to this text, the only thing that he could have been saying that to in that moment was that which was already created, which was Earth. And so there was a consultation there between the creator and everything that had already been created to be able to make who we are now. And so whenever we look at plants. They're a reflection of who we are. And if we could understand which aspect of our body that these plants represent or reflect or mirror, then we could understand the designated therapy that plant is able to provide. So I want to go through a bunch of real cool examples with you guys. uh oh, cool. And you're recording it. I'm recording it too, so you'll be able to go over this later, because I'll just start hammering through a whole bunch of stuff now. So with Hybris Cranberry, it doesn't look exactly like something. It shows you, it tells a story. And when you tap into that story, then you can understand. So Hybris Cranberry, it'll make those false flowers around the outside. I forget the proper term for them. They're the fake flower. They're just like an attractant sort of, look at me. So all the pollinators go and check it out. It doesn't even smell good, but so it has to look good. So it makes all these massive flowers, and then all those little flowers on the inside slowly bloom throughout the rest of the summer. But those big white petals on the outside is what attracts it. So when you're looking at this, it's interesting, it's unique. When you're listening to somebody, when you want to understand what makes somebody special, like talking about a person or any other person, the first, like what we do with people is what we should do with plants. What makes somebody special is their uniqueness. We communicate to each other via our uniqueness, the gifts that we have, what make us special, what makes us unique, what makes us significant, what is our signature feature. And so when we're looking to try to understand plants, we need to find out what makes them special, what makes them unique, what separates them from all of the other plants. And if we could identify that feature, then we could identify what this plant is here for, what it can help with, purpose that it has. So Hybris Cranberry makes itself different with this perimeter of petals that it uses to attract everybody. Like, hey, look at me. And so if you just take a second and you're like, hey, let's look at Hybris Cranberry. One of the coolest things that it does, you can see this leaf in the background, when it starts to change color in the fall, is it will turn like a dark color, like a dark burgundy, dirty red color on the outside. And then it'll turn bright red and fall off. Which is a little bit different than all of the other trees. Like all of the other trees will sort of turn these bright colors and then darken and dull and then fall off the tree. Hybris Cranberry is a little bit opposite in that it turns dark on the perimeter and then bright and falls off. And so there's just something interesting when you're looking at the perimeter of these leaves, and the way this plant sort of attracts you, gestures you to say, hey, there's something special about this part of me. So in the fall, we see this perimeter, and then even the shapes of the leaves being shaped just like the cervix, I guess. One of the things that we're able to see is that this tree is showing you that this tree is showing you that this is the part of your body that it's going to help with, the uterus and that endometrial lining, that perimeter, that endometrial lining inside of women, all the cramping that's happening inside of there, that's what it's going to help to stop. And then you look at tamarack. When you look at tamarack, sure, there's the shedding of the I said it already earlier, the shedding of the leaves, and then to help with that shedding of the endometrial lining, all of that extra blood loss, the tamarack is going to be there to help with that. And then of course the ash, looking exactly like female reproductive systems, having all of those shapes and structures embedded into its identity, because that's what this tree is designed to help provide support to. And so what we do is we mix all of those together and we make women's medicine. And so every single plant is designed to show you what it's good for. It's not this mysterious thing. They're all making it really explicit. Like I could show you a couple more. super fast, I guess. But we have um, Gobaalgeamish is sweet fern or Comptonia peregrina. This one is our Nagashim intestine medicine. That's what this medicine is designed to help fix. And so when you look at it, you could see, kind of see like, oh, yeah, that looks like my intestines. Has the folds of your colon, to the point where, like, when people are like, they have ulcerative colitis or they have Crohn's disease, they have IBD or whatever, IBS, these sorts of symptoms, issue with their gut bacteria, SIBO, whatever. And then I'll tell them to go to, like, wherever there's blueberries, there will be sweet fern. So go to where there's blueberries and look for your colon. And then people get real mad, like, what the heck kind of instruction is that? uh but then that's all I'll say, go find your colon. And then they're like traipsing through the bush, like I made my auntie do it once, and she's like, look for your colon. What the heck's this guy talking about? And then she saw this, the sweet fern, and she was like, hey, those look like a bunch of little colons. And so she brought it back. Yeah, that's the one. And then actually that day was super cool because we made tea for an elder who had bowel obstruction, who was palliative in Sudbury, and she was discharged in like 3 hours after she started drinking this tea, because she had her 5 BMs and she got the boot, got kicked out of the hospital. And yeah, that woman, she gossips real lots. Like if you tell her anything, everyone will know. And so I was real happy to give her this medicine because she tells everybody. And that was like, man, that was like 8 years ago. And that was actually, honestly, the last time anybody ever died from, or like from, since then no one has ever died from bowel obstruction in my community ever since. When bowel obstruction was like the number 1 killer, like even above cardiovascular incidents like heart attacks and strokes, bowel obstruction is what ended up killing everybody as we age. And that was like the last time anybody ever died from it. Or I mean, no one actually died from it. So since then, no one died from bowel obstruction because of this. And this, like in all of our like it's really amazing the way that it works. Like, so like real quick, you know, in your intestines, your things can go out of your body, things can go into your body, but we have a layer of mucus that we'll call mucin, and it's made up almost entirely of an amino acid called glutamine. And so that's what seals your intestines for the most part. And then you have all of the bacteria in your intestines, and you have all of your poo poo. The problem that we face today is those bacteria only eat 2 things: they eat fiber from the food that you're eating, or they eat through the mucin. And so if you're not having enough fiber, they eat through that barrier, the mucin, and then they get out in your body. And so your digestive system is like outside of your body. So when they get through the intestinal wall, you'll have the same reaction as like when a mosquito bites you. When a mosquito bites you, it injects those little bits of protein to thin your blood. Well, you don't just have a little bit, and you have a massive mosquito bite. And then some people will get mosquito bites like on Monday, and they'll still have them on Saturday. Like, people deal with inflammation differently, right? And some people deal with it super poorly. I mean, some of us though are like, we'll get bit at 6 in the morning, going out birding or whatever, and then when we're eating lunch, all those mosquito bites are gone. So we all manage mosquito bites differently. So the point is like, that mosquito is just injecting these tiny little bits of protein inside of you that are, and you're having this massive inflammatory response. Imagine when you have trillions of bacteria coming out of your intestines into your body because you were not eating enough fiber. Well, that's what happens. The other thing that happens too, though, is your body creates glutamine on its own. Your body can create that mucin all by itself. You don't need to eat anything for your body to create that. But the problem is that stress, adrenaline and cortisol, you're not able to make glutamine anymore. So glutamine is a conditionally essential amino acid. Your body's, when you're stressed, you're not able to seal your intestines, and all those bacteria just eat through the mucin and get out into your body. But if you weren't stressed, you're like real zen, real chill, then you'll just recreate that barrier as the bacteria are eating it, and everything would be okay. But we're all too stressed. So then they get out, those bacteria get onto your body. There's a massive inflammatory response. Then you have an inflammatory bowel disease, and that ends up becoming autoimmune, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. And the sweet fern is what we use to help fix that. Um, all it does is say, no matter how stressed out you are, you're always going to make glutamine. You'll always seal that barrier. And so no bacteria get onto your body anymore. So it's like super simple. It's a way for you to be able to communicate to your body to say, hey, I'm going to be super stressed out. I'm not going to be able to make glutamine and seal my intestines. So you use sweet fern to say, help me out for a minute or for the rest of my life. And so you use this, but you could see like what it looks like, right? One of my favorite ones is the Cosita Mali, the scouring rush, and how we use it for bone medicine. We make tea with this. Number one, it's one of the most delicious teas you'll ever have. It's like one of the most fantastic tasting things that'll ever touch your mouth. You'll be hooked. You'll have it for the rest of your life anyways. But this gives your bones everything they need to become strong. So it makes your bones super strong. And it does that through all different mechanisms. I don't want to get too lost in the weeds, but throughout all of our stories, the scouring rush, kasibnashk, will, like when you go to a bone density test, 0 is the weakest and 100 is the strongest. 20 below is when you get diagnosed with osteoporosis, right? And so most people, when they start using scouring rush, they come to me because they have osteoporosis. They're scoring 20 or below. They're like 10, 15, very bad. One thing about this scale is that it's a little bit odd in that some parts of your body we measure only between 0 and -5. So the scale is a little bit flawed. It's not 0 to 100 exactly. It's just that's within the most optimal normal limits of a person's bone density. Anyways, when you start to use scouring rush, people have used it for like 2 weeks, just enjoying the tea, a couple cups of tea throughout the day. And after 2 weeks, they'll go do a bone density test and they'll score always over 120. So beyond what that scale is able to record. And so they'll score beyond 120. The highest so far is 137. We started doing this in Wiki with the senior center in Wiki, and we're all using this. I was giving this to them, and everybody was scoring like over 120. And they were like talking after, like, what did you score on your bone density test? What did you score on yours? And then they turned it into like a contest. And then some of those women went to church with women from other communities, like from Sucker Creek or from Chiging. So then they started to say, hey, there's this medicine. Then in Sucker Creek, it was like right outside the church. So they got to show everybody, use that medicine, your bones will be nice and strong. Like their doctor says, your bones are stronger than all of my children. That's what the doctor says. And they're like 85 years old. Like now you have the strongest bones you've ever had in your life because you start using this medicine. And so it was real cool. It's a contest. It's an island-wide contest, and like all of the doctors know about it. They'll teach medical students coming through during their placement. They'll say like, yeah, the First Nation people, they will have this tea and they'll score like 10 in their bone density test 1 week, and then just a few weeks later they'll score over 120. I didn't know how this happens, but when these people ask to have medicine, you should support it. And so it's real awesome, like playing around with all the doctors. This contest is at Thunder Bay Hospital too, and at Winnipeg Hospital, and all those communities up there. They're all fighting who could score the highest on their bone density test. So it does that in like a really beautiful, really amazing way, by providing all of the nutrients and just exciting the process of actually getting the calcium into the periosteum, the hardest parts of your bone. One of the nutrients that's responsible for getting the calcium to where it actually has to go into the periosteum is silica and salicylic acid, which is like glass, I guess. It's kind of unusual in that sense. But with the scouring rush with the Cusidum hymali, it's hollow in the middle. And on the perimeter, on the outside, in the outside of the plant, that's where it deposits all of these salicylates, all of these silica crystals. And that's where this plant gets all of its structural integrity. So if you hold scouring rush up to the sun and move it around, it just shimmers. It's like full of glass. And when you make tea with it, there's a sediment at the bottom of the pot that's like glass. Anyways, um, um, this idea that this plant is showing you the part of your body that is designed to help provide therapy for, designed to help support. You could see like it's structured just like every single bone in your body, where you have the hard periosteum on the outside, the spongy bone in the middle, and the hollow center for marrow. Um, Scouring rush too, you have the hard outside full of silica, and then you have the spongy part in the middle, and then you have a hollow center. So this plant is structured just like every single bone in your body. And so it's showing you, on top of the fact that it's like people call it joint grass because of all these joints. And then if you ever bust one of those joints in the summer and it's got like this slippery fluid inside that feels like lubricate, like it's lubrication. And then the just like every single one of your joints in your body, you'll have the synovial fluid. And what's funny is when we use this as medicine, one of my favorite things to use this for is when people have really bad arthritis, like especially psoriatic arthritis or osteoarthritis, where you have really bad synovialitis, inflammation of the synovial fluid. You drink this tea, and in the morning, like there's no synovialitis is gone. All that inflammation in your synovial fluid is gone. So it feels like every bone in your body, every knuckle, every joint in your body is just full of butter. And so when you wake up in the morning and you have to do exercises, you're so sore and you have to like, do some exercises and do some ABCs in the morning with all of your joints just to get moving so that you can make your coffee. But you have scouring rush and then you'll just pop out of bed and then you'll just start working. It's such an amazing, amazing feeling. But my favorite idea is like this plant is showing you that. Like every time you look at it, it's like, yeah, this is what I'm going to help fix. And it's super fun with kids too. You show kids this and they're just like, yeah, looks just like your bones. That's real awesome. Um, and then the women's medicine, of course. Prickly ash, Xanthoxylum americanus, Galkamish, we call it. This is a medicine for your teeth. So I play this game with my mom. She's a registered nurse, and I'll just like flash a bunch of plants in her face, and she'll have to guess what it is because her anatomy and physiology is like no other. She's really, really smart. Um, so um, so yeah, I'll just show her plants, and then I remember I showed her this one, the prickly ash, northern prickly ash, and then just for like a second, she was just crocheting, then she looks and she saw it, and she's like, oh, it just looks like roots of your teeth. And then I was like, oh, so I took the tines off. If you rip the tines off of prickly ash, that'll leave a scar on the branch that looks just like a molar crown. And then the fruit, the seeds, the skin of the seeds have, same color as your tongue. They'll have all these little lumps on them that kind of look like taste buds. But when you put this inside of your mouth, what's amazing is there's saponins that are absorbed sublingually. So within 5 minutes, what those saponins do is draw all of the calcium out of every sensory neuron in your gums. So there's no more signals being sent to your dorsal root ganglion to send pain signals to your brain. So if you have pain inside of your mouth, you put a few pieces of this inside of your mouth and this pain is gone like real fast. So teething babies, they'll just real slobbery rub a bunch of, like, you put it in a cloth and rub it in their face, and then they'll be real just oozing, dripping slobber, and they'll be crying away. Then like 5 minutes later, it's all gone. So like we give this these branches, we make teething necklaces with. Of course, you take the tines off. For whatever reason, somebody always asks, "Do you take the tines off?" But yeah, you take the tines off, and you rub it. You send a needle through the hollow pith of the branch, so the babies will chew on, like, if and you wear it like a necklace. So like if you have baby, then the baby grabs the necklace and tries to rip it off your chest all the time and shoves everything in their mouth. So when they shove this inside of their mouth, they'll feel that pain relief from the bark. Or if you put the berries in, or the seeds inside of a cloth, and you put that cloth in their mouth, they'll feel that pain relief, and they'll be able to know that I need this my daughter, she said, started saying mom and dad and then stick. That's how important it was to her. She almost even before she said dad, she started saying stick, because she needed this to help with the soreness inside of her mouth. She knew that what that stick was doing, and so she had to learn how to say stick, and said it super early on, because of how amazing this is at being able to provide that relief inside of your mouth, on top of the fact that your mouth will only accumulate 3 different types of bacteria that can build up in your mouth and cause gingivitis, inflammation in your mouth. And this being not antimicrobial, but making those particular strains of bacteria hydrophobic. So they will be flushed through your body. And so the bacteria that causes gingivitis, that causes the inflammation that's responsible for lack of nutrients, and then tooth decay, and then losing all of your teeth, like what really starts this whole cycle, you just by engaging in this plant, enjoying some of these seeds throughout the day, or using it like other xanthoxylum species, Szechuan peppers, using it in your cooking, you're receiving that benefit, and you're constantly flushing away those particular bacteria that accumulate in your mouth to cause gingivitis and to eventually lose your teeth. So it's super important to be able to for this one, to have this a part of your life. And then one of the ones that I really wanted to show you is is lily pads. When you look at I don't even have the proper picture of it. I just put up lotus root there, which is not the fragrant water lily pads. But we have the, you know what? Maybe I won't even show you that one. The point here was like that when you're looking at plants, sometimes it's not very easy to understand, in the sense that the plant, the signature feature of the plant is emulating or mirroring a part of your body that you need a microscope to be able to see. So without a degree in anatomy and physiology, we will not be able to see this when we're outside. So I wanted to share some of that with you guys. Our muscle medicine that we use, like lily pad roots, both Nuphar variegata, or yellow lily, or cow lily, or whatever the heck it's called. We call it condamo, or the Nymphea odorata, the fragrant water lily. Both of them are used as muscle medicine. And it's really amazing what they do. Like I always tell everybody, I'm gonna run out of time. Geez, I wish I didn't come late. But what I like to tell everybody is that your muscles are your body's primary way to clear glucose, or to use blood sugar. So, when your blood sugar is too high, your pancreas makes insulin to bring it down. That's not what should happen. Your muscles are supposed to be gobbling up that sugar, not insulin. Your muscles are supposed to be using 80% of the sugar that you eat, 80% of the sugar that's in your blood. Your muscles bring that down. And so that's a perfectly sustainable process. When you bring insulin into the picture, because your muscles are not using the sugar, then insulin has to bring it down. Insulin tells your body to store fat. The more fat you have, the weaker insulin is. So the more insulin you make, the more fat that you make, and it ends up being this hole in the bucket situation. Whereas the way your body is supposed to function is your muscles are supposed to gobble up all of the sugar. It's actually one of the muscle centric medicine is one of my favorite ideas, understanding and recognizing that your muscles are the biggest organ inside of your body. This is Nufar variegata, which looks just like your muscle fibers inside of your body. The same exact structure, the way those leaves attach to the root, it's just beautiful. But your muscles are the biggest organ in your body, and they're the key to aging well. The only key to age, like if you want to age well, this is completely dependent on your muscles. There's a test that we could do, a grip test that can measure how strong your grip is and measure almost to the exact year how long you're going to live. The stronger you are, the longer you're going to live. And so there's a really amazing uh, uh, role that lily pad roots play in helping us, giving us what we need to be able to age well, giving our muscles everything they need to function properly. And you could see that just embedded throughout the identity of the roots. And so if you go back and you sort of look at the structure of the muscle fibers, if you ever take a cross section of a fragrant water lily, this is exactly what it looks like. I wish I had the picture of it here. I don't know what happened. All my pictures got messed up, but it looks exactly like one muscle fiber, which you need an electron microscope to be able to see. The other one I wanted to show you guys is maybe maybe not that one. This one will be easy for us to understand. Um, the thistles, they're always a liver medicine all over the world. Milk thistle is the species from Asia, and it's been naturalized all over the world and cultivated to use in like liver medicines. Here we use citrus thistle. We use all the different types of thistle species as liver medicine. And it's real awesome when you look at a thistle, everything about it, the structure of the flower, the shape of the flower, the shape of the cross section of the stem, looks exactly the way, if you look at your liver under an electron microscope, you'll see this structure, this hexagon structure, or like this, we'll call them liver lobules. And so in the natural world, when you look at all the different flowers that have that hexagon shape, they all play a significant role in giving your liver what it needs to function properly. So like when you look at thistle stems, they have that same structure, the same shape as your liver. But also like gold thread or Coptis trifolia, the Isawa jeepkans, it'll have those three lobes, just like the three lobes of your liver. It'll have the bright yellow roots, just like your gallbladder, and then the flower of it will have that hexagon shape. So everything outside is a reflection of you, the way that you look on the inside, and it's understanding and reminiscent of different creation stories all over the world, that consultation between the creator and everything that has already been created to be able to make who we are. And who we are is a culmination of all the elements that make up earth, and when we find those connections, we could understand the support that those plants have to offer. The last one I wanted to show you is cedar, the Thuja occidentalis, eastern white cedar, Gijagandak we'll call it. When you're looking at cedar, you need to figure out what makes it special, what makes cedar unique, what makes it different than all of the other trees. And so it's an evergreen, right? But what separates it from being an evergreen is that it doesn't have needles. It has flat green this scaly structure. So when you look inside of your body, and it's really fun doing this with physicians, people who actually study anatomy and physiology, they'll be able to see the cedar and say, hey, yeah, well, in your body, you have your lymphatic system. And it's this green, flat, scaly looking thing. And they'll look on the valves of the lymphatic vessels and say, hey, yeah, cedar has those exact same valves. But on lymphatic vessels, this is to prevent backflow of the lymph. So it's designed to push toxins out, push lymph through, but not back. So those little valves will block any lymph from coming back. But anyway, shares the exact same structure as your lymphatic system. That's exactly what cedar helps with. Cedar, your body, one of the most effective ways for your body to detoxify itself is through your lymphatic system. It exists in all of the dead space in your body. One of its major jobs is to collect all of the waste, all of the rogue proteins, the oxygen-free radicals, the viruses and bacteria and all of these different things. It's constantly cleaning up all of the dead space in your body, and it travels through your lymphatic system back into your blood, and then your kidneys and your liver deal with all those toxic components. But when you engage with cedar, like as in a cedar tea or even cedar smoke, like to use as a smoke medicine, then that what cedar does is it inside of your lymphatic system, it'll open these vestigial doors and allow all of that garbage to empty right into a sweat gland to then just be thrown out through your skin. So it doesn't have to travel all the way through to take days to end up back in your blood to then tax your kidney, tax your liver. It all just gets thrown out through your skin. So when you use cedar as a medicine, it's making your body more efficient at cleaning all of the garbage out. And so it's super effective to be able to be able to do that and engage with that. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys. Oh man, I wish I did not start late. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys, one of the things that I really wanted everybody to understand is that when you look at medicine, Western medicine, pharmaceutical agents, doctors, and what they prescribe, um, the pharmaceuticals that they prescribe, over 85% of those pharmaceutical drugs that have been created come from plants. So, I mean, most of us probably already knew that, but most drugs that doctors give out come from plants. The thing that I wanted us to understand is that the plants that have been used to create all of those drugs, when we think of that, what plants did they use? Oh, we'll think of the Amazon, or think of Australia, or traditional Chinese medicine, or in Europe, or whatever. But the reality is that most of those medications that have been created come from plants from the Great Lakes region, come from Nishnabek, come from right here. And so the vast majority of them, they use our medicine, the plants from here, to be able to create all of those different drugs. And the drugs that are created are trying to do what the plants do, but they're not able to do exactly what the plants do. They're creating synthetics that mimic certain actions of the plant, where the plant is full of hundreds of components all working synergistically together to be able to provide the therapy to that exact part of your body. And so it's really amazing to be able to spend some time with you, with an audience like you, just to be able to share the opportunity that we have to be able to go to the source of where all of these medications come from. We don't, and when we gain that knowledge, to be able to go to Ontario when it becomes to sickness and injury, then we're going to be so much closer to being able to achieve the life that this land is able to provide for us, which is a really good life, a life where we age well, a life free of chronic disease, a life where we're able to play on the floor with our grandchildren, stuff like this, and all of these medicines work together to be able to give us that opportunity. And that lack of medicinal knowledge and reliance on these diluted components in the pharmaceutical realm It's a really good opportunity to be able to go to the source where all of that comes from. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is process. So I wanted to share with you real quick. We do this thing. We've been doing it every year, but the historically, I guess a family would do this once every decade or so. So we collected medicine for for like 6 weeks. Just harvested everything that we needed. We got this year 119 different species of plants. And as this harvest was coming in, we started making a cold infusion of sumac, Quanatic rustifina, and then as well a big massive pot of shkitagan, of chaga, and that was our base. And so we collected all of our medicine, portioned it all out, and we ended up my wife portions it all out, and we have here 160 quart pot that we add all of our medicine to. So my daughter says, my daughter, we tell her she's got to say the Nishnaba name. So Cedar, she's putting Cedar into that pot. So she has to say Gijagandak, Eastern White Cedar, Thuja Occidentalis. And then she's real funny when she's when she's saying it, because she'll say she'll say it real good. And then she'll say, "Oh, Eastern White Cedar," because she speaks English very good. And then I'll say, "Now the scientific name, Thuja occidentalis." Then she can't say the Latin name, but she's getting better. So we do with 119 species we put in that year. We made her say every single one, every single species as we stirred it in. And so we put everything into this 160 quart pot, 119 different species of plants. And then we cooked it for 29 days. Probably after about 20 days or so, what happens is everything is cooking. And, like with soup, it eventually just turns into one thing. And so we stir it every day, um, all day, all night. And then what happens is that it gets real thick, and it gets like this pudding consistency. So then we strain it and put it in a cider press and squash the snot out of it, get every last little bit of juice out of it, all those plant nutrients, squash it all out, this massive cider press. And then we bring it inside, and then when it's inside, what we're aiming to do, what this does when we make teas, we extract all of the medicinal oils from those plants and make a big pot of tea. It's just a mixture of oil and water. So we work to evaporate all of that water. And so we bring it inside. This is a 7.5 gallon pot on the stove, and it goes down and down and down. And while it's cooking, we make other medicine, and it starts to get real sticky, and it reduces real good. And then it just gets to the point where yeah, it's done. We've got all the water out of it. And then we store it all inside of little jars. And this is basically just an extract of all of the medicinal potential from every plant that grows in the Great Lakes region. And this sort of medicine is called esgamdek, and we eat it every single day for our whole lives, like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, as a reduction of all of the medicinal potential from this entire georegion. In this entire georegion, responsible for giving and providing medicine, basically the idea of medicine, to the rest of the world, being responsible for identifying most pharmaceutical agents coming right from here. We engage with a reduction of all of that potential and all of that knowledge every single day for our whole lives. That process of making this type of medicine hasn't been done in my family in 45 years. and it hasn't been done in my community in over 20 years, or our whole nation in like 20 years. We were the first ones to get the knowledge that we need to be able to make something like this. And so we've been making it every year, sharing it with everybody, and experiencing what this sort of medicine can be responsible for, or is responsible for. In that pot, you find medicine to provide support to every organ, system, and process that your body has and goes through, is put inside of this pot and is all reduced so that we could be consuming a little bit every day, providing that therapy to every part of our body every single day for our whole lives. And that's how we were able to live the way that we did, living to 100 years old, even over 100 years old, still putting away wood for the winter, still going moose hunting, still filling the root cellar with a 2-acre vegetable garden, raising 10 kids. Like, the lives that these people lived is just insane, and healthfully too. No chronic disease, no frailty. People would be like in their 80s and 90s, and you'd never want to mess. Uh, they'll still wreck you. They're still real scary strong. And so medicine plays a really important role in giving us the ability to achieve the bimadzuin, the life that the Great Lakes is able to provide for us. And it's one aspect of it. Medicine knowledge is one thing, but the way that we are to transport ourselves, the where we are supposed to get our food, the culturally appropriate nutritional technique, the all of these different aspects of our culture. Our culture is an identity where all of this knowledge is embedded, and it's that engagement with all of those knowledges that are responsible for being able to live the life that we're capable of. And so yeah, well, I was real happy. I don't know if I think I was probably supposed to stop at 9. But I was real happy, second Tamara reached out to be able to share with a bunch of you who, like plants, to be able to share on some of these ideas around how plants can be used as medicine, and really start with some simple, really simple ideas sort of in the beginning, and get real complex, get real crazy, but then really just take a second and just think, that I think our ability to understand plants is super important. And that's where, in all of our work, that's where I try to spend most of my time, giving people the ability, the tools to be able to understand what plants are saying, what plants are telling you, because they all have stories they're sharing. And if you spend time with them, you'll be able to tap into those stories, be able to listen to them, and hear what they have to say, and then uh and then yeah, and then be able to engage with them. um but yeah, I don't know. Saw Tamara come on. We're probably supposed to stop at 9, eh?
Um, well, yes, but everyone was enjoying it thoroughly, and I think, I could probably listen to you for a few more hours. But so we might have to have you back again, if in a little while, to kind of break down, you know, like, let's say 5 or 6 different plants, and how you would find them, and how you would prepare them, um, and with some more information about each one. But yeah, no, I definitely think we'll need to have you back, and for sure, God willing, Creator willing, when things improve, we could have a medicine walk.
Oh yeah, I'll get right out there. It's hard now, uh really going through all of those, yeah, just getting out there and actually just being right in front of the plants is like that's the best. Holy man. um but yeah, maybe next time we'll start on time.
Well, I it may have been my fault. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think so. We originally talked about 7 to 9, and then the executive planning committee suggested making it shorter. But obviously, I didn't update the plan. But look, there's still 20 people tuned in, so that's me. It's so wonderful to learn a different perspective beyond just the scientific name and where it grows, and it's just a completely different side and different way of looking at the indigenous plants around us, and that sense of gratitude for what they can offer. And thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that.
I'm not sure you stopped to take a breath at all. Great.
Yeah, oh man. And yeah,
Got right in the
we could
zone.
go, yeah, we could go on forever. But I like that idea, coming back and choosing a few and then just profiling them completely. I just have a hard time coming to new people without explaining just sort of that, though the ideas that we went over tonight are
Mhm.
really good back, because like now, now I could start just like at the end there, we just sort of went through
Yeah.
quite a few, like I could start flying through them, and that understanding is there. And of course that's why you put it in this medicine. Oh, and this is, yeah, so from here on it makes a lot of sense. So that's pretty good. I'm down for hanging out couple more. Anytime anybody loves plants, holy man, I'll do anything.
And
Come hang out with you guys.
that's, yes, thank you so much for being willing to come back. And I see a lot of little chat bubbles popping up saying thank you. And I see you provided a link for people to go to for more info.
Oh yeah, just all of our social stuff, Facebook and our
Mhm.
Twitch channel and all that stuff. We have a few public sessions coming up. Generally we're just presenting in closed format like this, but for everybody, I wanted to be able to do something for everybody every month. So we have a couple different things on there you could join in on too.
Oh, wow. That's great. I'll let the official host say something now. Jacob, if you want to close.
No, this is fantastic. I love the way like that you drew together the traditions and you know drawing the links between um, the heritage and the creation story and the science and the plants and how it all fit together um, so neatly. And I appreciate what you're saying about giving the background. You're laying the foundation. It's like you're watching somebody weave something or knit something, and at first it looks like a bunch of string, and like, where is this going exactly? And then, but once you get once you get going, you see how it's all stringing together, and you've made a picture out of it, and it's all fit together so well and so neatly. It was really uh, fascinating journey to go on this evening. So thank you very much for talking to us. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
sweet.
it and really appreciate all the passion that you're using to deliver this. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'll come hang out with you guys anytime.
Great.
Miigwech.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining in. Uh, we'll have uh, we'll have more for you at a future time.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with you, Joe, about some future plans.
Okay. Okay. That'll
Have,
be good. I like that. I like, yeah, I just for
it was
even
perfect. It was
yeah,
all perfect.
even if it's just for me to go through the intro, and then now like I feel like, oh yeah, it would be pretty cool to dig deeper into just a few. Like if we spend like an hour and a half on maybe like 3 plants and all of the different relationships that they have with, and the stories that they have, that'd be super cool. Yeah.
Well,
Now we could get into it.
Chuck mentioned that you even, the Anishinaabe would notice bird behavior and look at different species of birds to help them find certain plants and berries based on their known food sources. So those connections are amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's what we actually use now when we're going finding medicine. Those birds will show us exactly where to go, because some will only sing by from certain vantage points like indigo bunting, or some will only sing by stagnant water like northern water thrush. Some they'll only be in certain areas, and you start working with all those medicines, and you associate the sounds with this ecosystem that you're in. And so you follow those sounds, and then it takes you right to exactly all the medicine that you want or that you're looking for. And so it's real fun being able to do that. It happened a couple times with like not just myself in the bush, like with my daughter. It happened with like big groups of community too, or like, hey, follow that bird. Oh, it's real cool. Yeah, that'd be super cool to just tie in that total picture.
Wait, no more pulling over on the 400.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad.
All
Then
right.
it's even worse since we started learning about birds. It's like,
A lot of the members of this group would relate to that. Yeah.
oh man, birders are so dangerous. It's gotta be like a really bad, like legitimate driving hazard.
Careful, more than half of OFNC are birders, I think.
I mean, like, I'm just speaking for myself, but I think I'm speaking for everybody. It's dangerous.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that'd be super cool. We'll hang out again. I'll wait for you to reach out, and then
Okay.
we'll figure out when we can hang out again.
Awesome. Thanks again. Have a good night, everybody.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay. We'll see you.
You and your family and your daughter stay well.
Thanks,
Stay
Jen.
safe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Bye now.